Your Ford F-150 might be hiding a time bomb inside its transmission, and Ford just confirmed it. Nearly 1.4 million trucks are affected by a recall that involves your transmission slamming from sixth gear all the way down to second while you are cruising at highway speed. I have been working on Fords for over 15 years, and this is one of the most dangerous mechanical failures I have ever seen come through the shop. We are seeing rear wheels locking up, tires screeching, and trucks skidding sideways on wet roads. Today I am breaking down exactly what is happening inside your transmission, which trucks are affected, the warning signs to watch for, and what you need to do right now to protect yourself and your family. This one could save your life. Let's talk about what Ford just admitted, because the scope of this recall is staggering. In April 2026, Ford issued recall number 26S28 covering 1,392,935 F-150 pickup trucks from the 2015, 2016, and 2017 model years. Every single one of these trucks is equipped with the 6R 86-speed automatic transmission, and every single one was built between March 12, 2014 and August 18, 2017. The problem is a component buried deep inside the transmission called the molded lead frame, and when it fails, the consequences are terrifying. The transmission can suddenly, and without any warning, downshift from sixth gear all the way down to second gear while you are driving at highway speed. Imagine cruising at 65 miles per hour on the interstate, your truck running smoothly, and without touching the shifter or doing anything at all, the transmission slams into second gear. Your engine revolutions per minute skyrocket instantly. The truck decelerates so violently that the rear tires lock up and start screeching across the pavement. If you are on a wet road, the back end kicks out. If you are towing a trailer, that trailer starts pushing you sideways. If there is a car tailgating you, they do not have time to react. This is not a hypothetical scenario. This is exactly what hundreds of F-150 owners reported to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Ford has acknowledged 2 injuries and at least 1 accident directly connected to this defect. But the real numbers are likely much higher because many owners experienced these events and never filed formal complaints. Now let me explain why this is happening, because understanding the mechanics helps you recognize warning signs before the worst case occurs. The 6R80 transmission uses a component called the molded lead frame. Think of it as the transmission's internal wiring harness. This lead frame is a molded plastic assembly that houses several critical electronic sensors and connects them to the shift solenoids on the valve body. Among these sensors is the transmission range sensor, sometimes called the PRNDL switch or the neutral safety switch. The transmission range sensor tells your truck's powertrain control module, also called PCM, what gear position you have selected and provides feedback about what the transmission is actually doing at any given moment. That assembly also includes the output shaft speed sensor and the turbine shaft speed sensor, which monitor how fast different parts of the transmission are spinning. All of these sensors feed data to the PCM, and the PCM uses that data to determine when to shift gears, how firmly to engage clutch packs, and how to manage engine torque during gear changes. When everything works correctly, the system is seamless. You never think about it. But here is what goes wrong. Over years of normal driving, the electrical connections inside the lead frame degrade. The transmission generates tremendous heat during operation, and as the temperature rises and falls through thousands of driving cycles, the solder joints and electrical traces inside the lead frame develop microscopic cracks. Vibration from the drivetrain makes those cracks worse over time. Eventually, those degraded connections start producing intermittent signal loss from the transmission range sensor, or TRS. The signal does not disappear completely. It flickers. One moment, the PCM receives accurate data, and the next moment, it receives invalid data. When the PCM detects an incorrect TRS signal, it cannot know whether the driver moved the shifter or whether a sensor failed. The computer has to decide, and it follows a pre-programmed gear shift map based on your current vehicle speed at the moment the signal loss occurs. According to Ford's own engineering documents, at speeds between 35 and 64 miles per hour, the maximum allowable downshift during a TRS signal loss event is to second gear. That means a sixth to second gear downshift. Ford themselves have designated this scenario as the worst case for affected vehicles, and they acknowledge that it may involve temporary rear wheel lockup. That is Ford's own language in the NHTSA filing. They are not disputing that this happens, they are admitting it. The NHTSA did not just take Ford's word for it. The investigation into this defect has been extensive. It started with a preliminary evaluation opened on March 21st, 2025, after NHTSA received 138 consumer complaints. But the investigation quickly expanded. By early 2026, NHTSA's Office of Defects Investigation had upgraded the case to a full engineering analysis covering over 1.27 million vehicles. They identified 329 formal vehicle owner questionnaires from affected F-150 owners. 60% of those owners were interviewed directly by investigators to confirm the details of their complaints. The findings were alarming. Consumers reported that their truck's transmissions suddenly downshifted to a lower gear, often to first or second gear, without any driver input or advance warning. The downshift events were not isolated. Owners described them as regular and repeated occurrences. Some owners reported multiple downshift events during a single trip. Several owners told investigators they had stopped driving their trucks entirely because they feared for their safety. 43% of the consumers who filed complaints reported experiencing at least one wheel lockup event during the unexpected downshift, meaning the rear tires locked, screeched, or skidded across the road surface. Here is a detail that should concern every affected owner. NHTSA's own Vehicle Research Test Center performed independent testing and discovered an additional safety defect beyond the downshift itself. When the TRS experiences intermittent signal loss, one possible outcome is an actual change in vehicle direction. The truck can veer off course during the event. That elevates this from a severe inconvenience to a genuine life-threatening hazard. What makes this recall even more frustrating is that Ford has dealt with nearly identical problems before. The 2011 through 2014 F-150s, equipped with the same 6R80 transmission, were already subject to 4 separate safety recalls for unexpected downshifting issues. Those earlier recalls, recall numbers 16V248, 19V075, 19V433, and 24V444, addressed a slightly different failure mode involving contamination and connector corrosion in the output shaft speed sensor circuit. In those older trucks, a signal loss from the output shaft speed sensor could cause the transmission to slam into first gear, regardless of vehicle speed. Ford addressed those trucks, but the 2015 through 2017 models continued using the same basic transmission design with the same vulnerable lead frame architecture. The root cause shifted from output shaft speed sensor signal loss to transmission range sensor signal loss, but the end result is nearly identical. Your truck downshifts violently without warning, and you are left fighting to maintain control. Ford estimates that approximately 1% of the 1.39 million vehicles in the recall population currently carry the active defect. That works out to roughly 13,929 trucks driving around right now with a transmission that could slam into second gear at any moment. 1% might sound small until you realize that is nearly 14,000 trucks on the road today with a known safety defect that causes loss of vehicle control. And that 1% figure only represents trucks with active failures right now. Every other truck in the recall population is experiencing ongoing lead frame degradation and could develop the defect at any time. So how do you know if your truck is affected, and what are the warning signs? First, check whether your specific VIN falls under this recall. You can look up your VIN on the nhtsa.gov website or on Ford's recall lookup page. The recall number is 26S28, and the NHTSA campaign number is 26V237000. If you own a 2015, 2016, or 2017 F-150 with the 6-speed automatic transmission, there is a very high probability your truck is included. Ford will be mailing notification letters to affected owners, but do not wait for the letter. Check your VIN now. If you are enjoying this content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and smash the like button. Your engagement helps other Ford owners find this critical safety information before it is too late. Beyond checking your VIN, watch for these early warning signs that your lead frame may be degrading. The most common indicator is an illuminated malfunction indicator light or a wrench light on your instrument cluster. If either warning light appears, do not ignore it. Get your truck to a Ford dealer or a qualified transmission specialist immediately and have the diagnostic trouble codes read. Common codes associated with lead frame failure include codes for the output shaft speed sensor, the input shaft speed sensor, and the transmission range sensor. Your speedometer may also behave erratically. Some owners report that the speedometer stops working entirely or works only intermittently. This happens because the lead frame houses the output speed sensor that provides vehicle speed data. When the lead frame's electrical connections degrade, the speed signal becomes unreliable. You might notice the speedometer needle jumping around or dropping to zero momentarily while driving. Another warning sign is the transmission shifting roughly or hunting between gears during normal driving. If your truck feels like it cannot decide which gear to be in, or if you notice unexpected upshifts or downshifts during steady speed cruising, the transmission range sensor signal may be degrading. The transmission might also shift into neutral momentarily, causing a brief loss of power to the wheels before re-engaging. In some cases, the truck enters limp mode, where the transmission locks into a single gear, usually second or third, and refuses to shift. Limp mode is the transmission's self-protection strategy. When the powertrain control module detects enough signal inconsistencies from the lead frame sensors, it restricts transmission operation to prevent further damage. If your truck goes into limp mode, it is actually doing you a favor by preventing that violent, uncontrolled downshift. Take it as a serious warning and get the transmission inspected immediately. Now let's talk about the fix, because Ford has announced what they intend to do about this. The primary remedy is a powertrain control module software calibration update. Ford dealers will reprogram the powertrain control module, PCM, with new software that includes additional processing time for the control system to recognize a failed or failing transmission range sensor, TRS signal, before commanding a downshift. In plain language, the old software reacted instantly to any transmission range sensor signal irregularity and commanded an immediate downshift based on the shift map. The new software gives the system a longer window to evaluate whether the signal loss is real or just a momentary glitch. This prevents the powertrain control module from commanding a violent downshift in response to a brief signal interruption caused by a degrading lead frame connection. The software update is free of charge. Ford is covering the complete cost of the repair for all affected vehicles. If your truck has already exhibited certain diagnostic trouble codes related to transmission range, sensor degradation before the software update is installed, the dealer will also replace the physical lead frame assembly under a corresponding extended warranty program. That lead frame replacement is also covered at no cost to you. Here's the critical thing you need to understand. The software update is a mitigation, not a permanent fix for the underlying hardware problem. The lead frame in your transmission is still degrading, the solder joints are still cracking from thermal cycling, the vibration damage is still accumulating. The software update changes how the computer responds to degraded signals, but it does not repair the degraded connections themselves. Over time, as the lead frame deteriorates further, signal loss events may become more frequent and more severe. The software can only compensate for so much degradation before the hardware needs physical replacement. If your dealer only performs the software update and your truck later develops lead frame symptoms again, go back and insist on the physical lead frame replacement. The lead frame itself is not an expensive part. The component typically costs between $130 and $250 for the part alone. However, labor is where the cost adds up, because the transmission oil pan must be removed and the valve body must be partially disassembled to access the lead frame. Dealer labor charges for this job range from $800 to $1,600 depending on the shop and location. Some owners have reported total bills exceeding $2,000 at dealership service departments. Under the recall, you should not be paying any of this. Ford is covering the cost, but if you have already paid out of pocket for a lead frame replacement on a 2015 through 2017 F-150, before this recall was announced, save your receipts and contact Ford customer service at 866-436-7332. You may be eligible for reimbursement. There are some important steps you should take right now if you own an affected truck. First, check your VIN immediately on the NHTSA website at nhtsa.gov or on Ford's recall page. Do not wait for a mail notification. Second, if you notice any warning lights, erratic shifting, the speedometer dropping to 0, rough or hunting shifts, or any of the symptoms I described, stop driving the truck and have it towed to a Ford dealer. The risk of a sudden downshift at highway speed is simply too dangerous to ignore. Third, if your dealer performs the software update, ask whether any diagnostic trouble codes related to the transmission range sensor, TRS, or to the vehicle speed sensors were stored in the system. If codes were stored, insist on lead frame replacement in addition to the software update. Fourth, even after the recall repair is completed, pay attention to how your transmission behaves. If symptoms return months or years later, go back to the dealer. The underlying hardware degradation continues regardless of the software fix. Fifth, if you have been involved in an accident or had any vehicle damage that you believe was caused by an unexpected downshift, file a complaint with NHTSA at nhtsa.gov and contact a qualified attorney. 2 injuries and 1 accident have already been linked to this defect, and the actual number of incidents is almost certainly higher. This recall is a serious safety issue affecting one of the most popular trucks ever sold in the United States. The F-150 has been the best-selling truck in the United States for decades, and the 2015 through 2017 model years represent some of the highest volume production years in the truck's history. Nearly 1.4 million of them are out there right now with a transmission component that degrades over time and can cause a violent, uncontrolled downshift at highway speed without any warning. Ford knew about similar problems in earlier model years and issued 4 separate recalls for 2011 through 2014 trucks. The fact that the 2015 through 2017 trucks continued with the same vulnerable lead frame design raises serious questions about whether Ford adequately addressed the root cause when they had the chance. Regardless, the recall is here now, and the most important thing you can do is act on it immediately. Do not put this off. Do not assume it will not happen to your truck. Check your VIN today. If this video helped you understand this critical recall, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an important Ford safety alert. Drop a comment below and tell me if your truck has shown any of these symptoms. Share this video with every F-150 owner you know, because most of them have no idea their truck could slam into second gear on the highway tomorrow. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.